I've been delivering pizzas for a couple of years, and it's usually the same routine. But this one night, it changed everything. It was a Friday, close to midnight, when I got the order. The address was in a neighborhood I'd never been to, a bunch of old, crumbling houses with overgrown yards. When I pulled up, the place looked deserted. The porch light was flickering and the windows were boarded up, but someone had left a note on the front door. "Deliver to the basement. Doors unlocked." Every instinct I had screamed to leave, but I figured maybe they were renovating or something. Plus, a big tip had already been added to the order. Against my better judgment, I grabbed the pizza and went inside. The place was freezing cold. No furniture, no decorations, just empty rooms and peeling wallpaper. The faint smell of mildew filled the air. In the corner of the living room was a door slightly ajar, leading down to the basement. "Hello? Pizza delivery," I called out. No response. The staircase creaked as I descended, each step groaning under my weight. The further I went, the darker it got. I used my phone's flashlight to see. The basement was damp and unfinished, with a dirt floor and stone walls. In the center was an old wooden table. On the table sat a single chair, and in that chair, a mannequin. Its painted-on eyes stared blankly at me. A frozen smile stretched across its plastic face. The sight made my skin crawl, but what caught my attention was the envelope propped up in its lap. "Take the money and leave," a low, raspy voice whispered behind me. I spun around, but no one was there, just shadows dancing along the walls. The envelope had my name scrawled on it. My name. I didn't open it. I just dropped the pizza and bolted back up the stairs, slamming the door behind me. I didn't stop running until I reached my car. As I fumbled for my keys, I glanced back at the house. The front door was wide open now, swinging gently in the breeze. And standing in the doorway was the mannequin, its head tilted at an unnatural angle, as though it was watching me. I floored it out of there, heart pounding. When I got back to the restaurant, I finally opened the envelope. Inside was $500 in cash and a note that read, "Thanks for the delivery. Come back soon." I quit that night. Whatever they wanted, they can find someone else. I'm never going back.
I'm a pizza delivery guy. It's not glamorous, but it pays the bills. Tonight was supposed to be just another shift. Pepperoni here, Hawaiian there. You know the drill. But this one delivery, it still doesn't sit right. It was around 11:30 p.m. when the order came in. The address was way out in the sticks, just a single house surrounded by dense woods. I groaned, but what could I do? A $20 tip had been prepaid. Worth it, right? The GPS started glitching as I got closer. It kept rerouting, and my phone screen flickered like something was messing with the signal. Eventually, I gave up and relied on the house number etched into a rotting wooden sign nailed to a tree. I pulled up the gravel driveway, headlights slicing through the pitch-black night. The house looked abandoned. The shutters hung loose, and the porch sagged under years of neglect. Still, the porch light was on, a dim yellow bulb swinging gently in the breeze. I grabbed the pizza and walked up, feeling uneasy. The night was dead silent. No crickets, no wind, just nothing. As I knocked on the door, it swung open before my fist hit the wood. "Hello?" I called out, stepping just inside the threshold. The air inside was stale and cold. The place reeked of damp wood and something else, something metallic, like rust or blood. There were no lights on, just the faint glow of a single candle flickering deeper in the house. "Your pizza's here," I said, my voice shaking. No answer. I set the pizza down on a nearby table covered in dust and went to leave. Then I heard it. A faint whisper. It wasn't words. It was more like a low hissing sound, coming from the direction of the candle. Against every ounce of better judgment, I took a step closer. "Hello?" I tried again, this time louder. The whispering grew louder, almost frantic. And then I saw it. A figure in the corner, hunched and motionless. I froze. The candlelight barely reached it, but I could make out a pale face with wide, unblinking eyes staring right at me. Your pizza," I stammered, stepping back. The figure tilted its head sharply, like a bird watching prey. Its mouth opened, and I swear I saw rows of jagged teeth glint in the dim light. I bolted. The door slammed shut behind me as I ran to my car. But when I yanked the handle, it wouldn't budge. My keys were gone. From my pocket, from the ignition, just gone. Then I saw it. The figure was outside now, standing at the edge of the driveway, bathed in my car's dim interior light. I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. Its head tilted again, almost curious, before it slowly raised a hand and waved. That's when the whispering started in my head, like it was inside me, buzzing and relentless. The figure took a step closer and I snapped. I ran into the woods, branches clawing at my face, my legs burning. I didn't care where I was going, I just needed to get away. Eventually, I stumbled out onto a highway, waving down a passing car. The driver looked at me like I was insane, but he let me in and drove me back to town. The cops didn't believe me, of course. By the time they checked the house, there was no sign of anyone, or the pizza. But I know what I saw. And every time I close my eyes, I can still hear that whispering. I quit the next day. I'll never deliver pizza again.
I was delivering a pizza to a neighborhood I'd never been to before. It was one of those places you hear about but never visit. Quiet, too quiet, with all the houses looking identical and perfectly maintained. It was late, around midnight, and the fog rolling in made it hard to see beyond a few feet. The house I was looking for was number 43. When I pulled up, I noticed something strange. There were no cars in any of the driveways, not just at the house I was delivering to. All the houses were eerily lifeless. No porch lights, no TVs flickering in the windows, nothing. I got out of the car and approached the house. Number 43 was pristine, freshly painted, a perfect lawn, and not a single leaf out of place. Yet the windows were dark. I rang the doorbell and waited, the warm pizza box in my hands. No one answered. I knocked. "Pizza delivery," I called out. Still nothing. I was about to leave when I heard the faint sound of a door creaking open behind me. It wasn't the front door, it was the side gate leading into the backyard. It swung slowly, as if beckoning me. I hesitated, but then I heard it. A low, almost melodic hum coming from the backyard. Against my better judgment, I followed the sound, pushing the gate open and stepping into the backyard. The yard was immaculate, like something out of a catalog, but there was no one there. Just a single patio table in the middle of the lawn, with a small, glowing candle on it. The hum grew louder, almost hypnotic. "Hello?" I called out, scanning the yard. That's when I noticed the chairs around the table. 4 chairs, perfectly spaced, and sitting in each of them was a person. At least I thought they were people. Their backs were to me, and they sat unnaturally still. Too still. Your pizza's here?" I said, my voice trembling. One of the figures shifted slightly, its head tilting toward me. That's when I realized something was terribly wrong. The figure's neck twisted at an impossible angle, turning fully backward to face me. Its face was featureless, smooth, pale skin stretched where eyes, a nose, and a mouth should have been. I stumbled back, dropping the pizza. The other figures began to move, slowly rising from their chairs. They didn't turn, didn't walk. They just floated toward me, their heads cocked in unnatural angles. I bolted for the gate, slamming it shut behind me. I didn't stop running until I reached my car. As I jumped in and started the engine, I glanced back at the house. The figures were standing in the driveway now, motionless, watching me. I sped out of the neighborhood, not looking back. When I got back to the restaurant, my manager was furious. "You're late, and where's the pizza?" she barked. "I left it," I said, panting. They didn't take it." She frowned. "What are you talking about?" That house hasn't ordered in years. The last guy who delivered there quit the next day. I didn't go back to work after that night. A week later, I drove past that neighborhood out of morbid curiosity. Number 43 wasn't there. Where it should have been was an empty lot, overgrown with weeds.
Being a pizza delivery guy, I've seen some weird things, but nothing comes close to what happened last month. It was a slow night, almost closing time, when an order came in for a large meat lover's pizza. The address was on the outskirts of town, past where most houses gave way to farmland. The place wasn't even on GPS, so I had to rely on written directions. When I got there, it was strange. The house was old, but it looked like someone had tried to fix it up. Fresh paint, new shutters. Still, something felt off. The windows were all dark, and there wasn't a car or any sign of life. I knocked on the door, and it creaked open slightly, like it hadn't been latched. "Hello, pizza delivery," I called out. A woman's voice answered, soft and shaky. "Come in, please. Leave it on the table." I hesitated. "Ma'am, I can't—" "Please," she interrupted, almost begging. "It's okay. Just the table in the hallway." I stepped inside, and immediately a chill ran through me. The air felt heavy, almost suffocating, and the house smelled faintly of something burnt. I looked around. The hallway was empty except for a narrow table by the wall, so I set the pizza down and turned to leave. "Wait," the voice said again. But it wasn't soft anymore. It was harsh, like a growl. I froze. Slowly, I turned back toward the table, and my stomach dropped. The pizza was gone. The box, the smell of pepperoni, everything, just gone. In its place was a single photograph. The photo was old and faded, but I recognized the scene instantly. It was me, standing at the front door of this house, holding a pizza box. My car was in the driveway, exactly as it was outside. But the photo looked ancient, like it had been taken decades ago. I grabbed the picture, trying to wrap my head around it when I heard heavy footsteps behind me. Slow, deliberate. "Thank you for bringing it back," the voice growled, now deeper, more inhuman. I turned to see a figure standing at the end of the hallway. It was impossibly tall, its head brushing the ceiling with long, gnarled limbs. Its face was wrong, stretched and hollow, with empty black pits where its eyes should have been. I bolted for the door, but it slammed shut before I could reach it. The figure's footsteps quickened. I fumbled with the lock, but my fingers wouldn't cooperate. Then everything stopped. The house was silent. I turned around, and the hallway was empty again. No figure, no footsteps, just the faint smell of burnt wood. The photo was still in my hand. I didn't waste any more time. I ran to my car, peeled out of the driveway, and didn't stop until I was back at the restaurant. Later, when I tried to tell my manager about it, she frowned. "That's impossible," she said. "What do you mean?" I asked, still shaking. "That house burned down 30 years ago. No one's lived there since." I still have the photo. I don't know how it's possible, but I can't bring myself to throw it away. Sometimes, late at night, I swear I hear footsteps outside my apartment door.